Purim is unique compared to all the holidays, including Shabbos. And those times when you're inspired, everything that opposes God naturally backs off, which is desire for physical things, in which case you'd have to push away that temptation. So you're in this conflicted environment. Who is she that comes up from the desert like columns of smoke in clouds of myrrh and frankincense? Of the Jewish people who are called Zeis, that's what comes up from the desert. That's the physical world, all the temptations of the world. So on holidays, God takes you out of that realm and burns it up. It's to allude to what Esther went through in preparation for the king. She had to be in fragrance for 6 months in a spa. They had 6 months in this oil of myrrh. So when we're talking about the oil of myrrh, we're talking about wisdom. To be embittered. There's a wisdom in being sensitive. So myrrh is mariris, it's the bitter herbs, the maror. Since you're going out from this wilderness, which is temptation, mafarid and mafridara, and evils become something that's distinct. You're coming out from the wilderness. You're elevating yourself. Azayaskil hatev. Then you come to the realization from your embitterment and the trauma of your experience of the opposite. You go up in this pillar of smoke, which is absorbing the wisdom of your bitter experience of the opposite. So you could come to wisdom through conquering alcoholism or any type of addiction by simply realizing how important the opposite of that is. To not wake up with a hangover. How important it is for you to have an extra day in the week. So that's the 6 months preparation. Just like if fragrance is absorbed v'nichnas latei gufay, it goes into material or one's body. That's how the maiden approaches the king. That's the story of the Megillas Esther. With all this, we'll understand well what Esther's all about. That in the beginning, when the king saw the queen standing in the courtyard, she was in the state that we just spoke about at length, coming out from the wilderness. You come out from the world of rectifying the world by being involved with a wilderness of temptation and saying, now I'm ready after 6 months in myrrh. I have been transformed. I'm ready for stage 2.0. Let's experience the transformation. Because even the inner courtyard is still considered a desert, neged Beis HaMelech, when you compare it to the palace itself. The courtyard of the palace is not the palace. The king's not there for one thing. He doesn't live there in a permanent way though, because he has a palace with a jacuzzi. Now she's reaching the next stage by approaching the king in his palace. But all this ascent and this approach, Eina ella v'tagib areisha sarbit. That's only touching the tip of the scepter. But afterwards, Ksiv, it's written, but Taisif Esther, that she adds to this, that is to say, that being there in the palace, and she cries and appeals to him to vanquish the wicked plot of Haman, that her tears were in order to arouse supernal mercy al nitzalakus, for the godly spark asher nislabish b'levush tigasa ruach, which invests itself within the garments of the haughty of spirit. So when you've really come to terms with that and cried it out and prayed it out, and that arouses divine mercy, supernal mercy, to transform darkness into light. So Achashverosh himself becomes, now I'm going to entrust Mordechai with the entire kingdom, and everything that belonged to Haman now is yours, Mordechai. That this divine light should shine specifically in the lowest realm. And that's when Esther rises, that she no longer has to go about this process of rectifying the world of temptation, the wilderness, the desert. Melech, that's what it means when we say that Esther stood before the king, that she has achieved a great position before him, K'moishe Kasuv, Eishes Chayil Ateres Bailo, reaching the level of the precious, being the crown of her husband. So the Jewish soul in Purim achieves not only the entire scepter, but standing before the king and becoming the precious, the crown which is above the king. Have a great day.